Okay, so today is my third video in my series discussing the Canadian teams heading into the NHL Draft Lottery. I've already talked about the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens, and today I'm going to be discussing the Winnipeg Jets with my friend Tom Stevenson. And Tom is actually joining me from Winnipeg today. How you doing, Tom?
Great, Ryan. The weather's finally turned in Winnipeg. Spring's finally here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks. Now, yesterday Niles was talking about how he first got into hockey when he got the 1986 O-Pee-Chee hockey sticker book. And it was actually the same for me. The first one I got was the 92-93 sticker book. And you can see this thing is literally falling apart at the seams. Got a lot of mileage out of this thing. How about you? Were you a hockey sticker or hockey card collector growing up?
I did collect cards, actually, mostly cards, a few stickers here and there when Mom would buy them for me at the store, but hockey cards for sure. Shawnee Belanger, our mutual friend, and we had quite the collection back in the day. The ones that I have that I didn't wreck from playing hand hockey with Sean are still at my dad's, and it's almost like a cool little time capsule when you pull the top off and see some Mark Howe and and guys like that.
Oh yeah, I totally know what you mean. Just when you open up those old hockey cards, gives you a real nostalgic feeling. Now, I remember when we were in high school back in the early 2000s, obviously the Jets didn't exist at that time, and you actually pulled for the Ottawa Senators for a number of years. But then the Jets came back in 2011, which was awesome. How did you feel when you first found out Winnipeg was getting their team back?
Oh, when the Jets came back, I was absolutely over the moon. Yeah, it was something else. A tear-filled, joyful day. That's for sure. I mean, for years we've been hearing that the team was coming back, but it was more of a believe it when you see it kind of moment. And when it finally came to fruition, I mean, it happened so fast. 2 weeks, we heard, well, maybe we're getting Phoenix. And then within the week, it was Atlanta, and all of a sudden we had a team. It didn't matter that our arena was 15,000. We were just going to sell it out every night and rock the place. And it was one heck of a moment when we finally got our team back. Sorry, Ottawa.
So when did you first become a Jets fan?
Well, I think I first became a fan when I finally when I finally went to some games with my dad, and then there was an event called the Jets Wives Club meeting that was a fan appreciation essentially, and the wives of the players had organized an event where you got to meet everybody. I was on Tamo Solani's lab hanging out with Bob Essenza and Stefan Quintel, Alexei Zhamnov, Keith Kachuk, Chris King, Ty Domi. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, it was crazy. It was a great time, and that was the first time I kind of got the local pride of my team and felt like I was a part of the home team. It was awesome.
Oh, for sure. So I've asked the other guys this, and I'm really interested to hear your answer. Who is your all-time favorite Winnipeg Jet, and why?
My all-time favorite Jet is Thomas Steen, hands down. He's still an active member in the community. He's an MLA here in Winnipeg, and he was just a beauty. He was a captain. He had the same initials as me as a kid. That was enough appeal to get me over the hump. And when I met him at the Jets Wives Club meeting as well, it was fantastic. Great guy, great player. Always showed up, and even his son is a very great hockey player now too. So yeah, I love the guy. He's a beauty.
Oh yeah, that's an excellent choice. Super underrated player. I'm actually really excited for the outdoor game between the Jets and the Oilers in October. My dad and I are going to try to get tickets to that, and I just think the alumni game is going to be fantastic. I don't know if I've ever told you this before, but my dad actually lived with the Messiers in St. Albert when him and Paul played for the midget AA Knights of Columbus Colts, and Doug coached them. So I just think it would be super cool for my dad to maybe meet up with Messier at the alumni game and, catch up after all these years. Anyway, let's talk about last season. I'll be honest here, I was really high on the Jets last year in the playoffs. I picked them to upset the Ducks in 7 games. I thought this is just a big physical team that can skate and will wear you down over the course of a series. And I know they got swept in that series, but every game was a 1-goal game, if I recall correctly. And yeah, thought this is a Jets team that is starting to emerge in probably the toughest division in the league. So how did they go from that to now this season having a 7.5% chance at Austin Matthews?
I think the reason why the Jets made such a seemingly huge transition is it was more by design. We played young this year. We took one step backwards to potentially take 3-4 forwards next year. We've got a lot of players who didn't have experience who now do. In Nick Ehlers, Andrew Kopp, Yoel Armia didn't get a lot of experience in Buffalo before we traded for him. Even getting the opportunity to see Connor Hellebuck play, and I still think he should be in a very John Gibson type situation where he's, back and forth just based on injuries as long as he's starting. But the shelf is stocked with prospects for the Jets. We've got the extra intangible of having the Winnipeg or the Manitoba Moose back, playing out of the same arena, and having those kids look down the hall and say, "I want that job over there." It's gonna motivate them, and I think that that's an extra thing to watch out for with Winnipeg in the future. Our future is one of the brighter ones in the league as it stands right now, as far as I'm concerned, and that's probably just a biased opinion.
Oh, no, I don't think you're being biased at all in saying that. Winnipeg has a really deep prospect pool. I think the Hockey News put an article out not that long ago saying, based on the talent they have coming up, they'll win the 2019 Stanley Cup. Anyway, I think the biggest controversy this year was, do the Jets keep Byfuglien or Ladd? And obviously they moved Ladd to Chicago and decided to keep Big Buff. I'd just like to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think that they kept the right guy?
The Andrew Ladd, Dustin Byfuglien fiasco. One for the ages. You didn't go too many places with one of these on and not get asked that question or want to ask that question and find out what other people thought. Dustin Byfuglien, as far as I'm concerned, was a slam dunk. You had to keep him no matter what. And with Mark Scheifele, Jacob Trouba, and Adam Lowry all needing contract extensions this coming year, we just didn't have the cap room to cater to Andrew Ladd's $6.8 million request. So he just unfortunately had to be part of the business of the game rather than part of the loyalty that I think our GM has quite a bit of. It was sad, but there's nothing saying he can't come back. He's an unrestricted free agent. If he can just wiggle his way down to about 4.5, 5 mil, we'd still be pushing the cap ceiling. But we could do it, and we'd love to have him, even with a guy like potentially Austin Matthews in the lineup. And it would be one heck of a team if he did come back. But as it stands now, like I said, Dustin Byfuglien was a slam dunk in the moment. And if you needed to make a choice based on that alone, I think they made the right one.
I'm picking up what you're laying down. Now, I'm going to run the lottery, and just let me say this before I do. If there's one Canadian team that I would really like to see win it, it's the Jets. I just think that they could really use the star power up front, especially since Ladd left. And with the state of the economy right now, they could really use another marketable player. I think it would do a lot to revitalize that fan base. And hey, they've actually had the most luck in the lottery so far. The first time I ran it, they got the 3rd pick, and the last time they got the 2nd pick. So we'll see if that continues. But first, tell me, what is your best case scenario and your worst case scenario for those top 3 lottery spots?
Best case scenario, I try not to think too much about the draft lottery right now because our prospect pool is pretty big, and if we don't get Austin Matthews, I know some people will be disappointed, but I don't think it's going to matter one way or the other. I'd like to see Matthew Tkachuk even. I mean, following the roots of his dad and stuff like that. There's a lot of guys in the first round that I wouldn't mind seeing on our team. But best case scenario, any team's better with Austin Matthews on it, Canadian or otherwise. So I would love to see Winnipeg get it. In terms of being a purist of the league and seeing competition go throughout, I wouldn't mind seeing Arizona get him because the player gets what he wants in that case. And we all know that Austin Matthews would love to go home and play for his hometown, the place that he fell in love with the game. And I would also like to see Toronto do it. Maybe not get Austin Matthews, but I'd love to see them in the mix and in the top 3 because I like what they're doing. I like that Lou Lamoriello's finally decided, hey, we have to rebuild the right way and just strip it for parts. And I like what I see. I see a bright future in Toronto as well. Worst case scenario, Edmonton Oilers can't win this. I mean, just because of you can't 4 times, and you're still even in the mix. It's a little painful. I'd like to see them do more, do less at the draft and a little bit more at the deadline and stuff like that. I know that they always put themselves in a seller's situation, but try to buy at the same time. I think they did a little bit better with that this year in getting Patrick Maroon. That was helpful, but hopefully he stays. Beyond that, it would just be personal vendettas against Montreal and Boston to not see them win. But sorry, but yeah, that's about it.
Good stuff, Tom. Okay, here we go. The first overall pick goes to
The Columbus Blue Jackets. All right.
I really don't think there's a team in the NHL that I care less about than Columbus. Anyway, the second selection goes to
Winnipeg Jets. Of course. We're so good.
and the third pick goes to
Third pick goes to the Oilers, which, okay, it sucks that they're in there, but they didn't win. That's all that matters. If they get Matthews, then it's all a sham.
Hey, I totally understand. I get it. I'd like to save this talk for the Oilers video in this series before I really get into that, but I am on the same page as you. I'd like to see them drop to the 3rd, 4th, or even 5th spot in the draft. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for talking to me today, and good luck on April 30th.
Thanks for having me on, Ryan. I hope to see you and your dad down here in Winnipeg for the Heritage Classic. I don't think this city's seen a party like that. So, yeah, I'd love to see you guys down here. Have a great draft lottery, everybody, and go Jets go.
Awesome. Take care, Tom. All right, that's it for today. I don't know if you've really noticed this, but this video series has been pretty tame so far. It's probably because I don't really have much of an emotional investment in the teams that I've been discussing, but things are about to get a little more heated, pun intended, when I talk to my friend Tristan about the one-time Stanley Cup champion, Calgary Flames. I'll see you then.